This girl claimed to be Anne Frank in a past life, and it's one of the most chilling reincarnation cases in history. It began subtly in the quiet suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, in the autumn of 1979. The crisp air carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant bonfires. The setting was idyllic, a stark contrast to the unfolding mystery. The Henderson family lived a quintessential American life. Sarah and Tom, loving parents, cherished their only daughter, 8-year-old Emily. Emily was, by all accounts, a bright, imaginative child. Her room was a riot of color, filled with dolls and crayon drawings. She loved playing in the backyard, her laughter echoing through the neighborhood. Yet, a subtle shadow lingered, unnoticed at first. Small, peculiar habits began to emerge. Emily detested waste, meticulously saving scraps of paper. She had an uncanny fear of attic spaces, a particular sensitivity to loud noises, and a strange, recurring nightmare. The dream was always the same: cramped spaces, whispering voices, and the chilling sound of heavy boots. Her parents dismissed it as childhood anxieties. But then the words began, unprompted, unsettling. One afternoon, while playing with her dolls, Emily paused. "It's not safe here," she whispered, her eyes wide, unseeing. "The soldiers are coming." The Henderson home, a haven of domestic tranquility, suddenly felt a little colder. The aroma of freshly baked cookies usually filled their kitchen, but on that particular day, a faint, almost imperceptible scent of damp wood and aged paper seemed to cling to the air around Emily. The sounds of typical suburban life, lawnmowers, distant traffic, children's shouts, faded into a backdrop for the increasingly strange pronouncements from their daughter. Emily, a vibrant, curious child who loved to explore, developed an inexplicable aversion to enclosed spaces. The family's large walk-in pantry, usually a source of fascination for her, became a place she actively avoided. Her once boundless energy would sometimes drain from her in an instant, replaced by a profound, uncharacteristic melancholy, particularly when watching historical documentaries about World War II, a topic she seemed drawn to with a disturbing intensity. Her artistic endeavors, once whimsical and bright, began to take on a darker hue. She drew meticulous sketches of a small, cramped room, always with a window obscured, and figures huddled in the shadows. The first truly chilling incident occurred during a family visit to a local museum. They were in the European history exhibit, and Emily, usually bouncing ahead, stopped abruptly in front of a display case. Inside were artifacts from World War II, including a replica of a yellow Star of David. Emily's face, usually animated, became a mask of profound sorrow. "They made us wear these," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper, her small hand reaching out as if to touch the glass. "To mark us." Sarah and Tom exchanged a puzzled glance. Emily had never been taught about the Holocaust in such detail. Later that week, while reading a children's book about Amsterdam, Emily pointed to a picture of the canal houses. "Our annex was behind one of these," she stated matter-of-factly, her finger tracing a path through the illustrated streets. "The secret one, above the warehouse." Her parents, though perturbed, tried to rationalize it. Perhaps she'd overheard something, seen a documentary, but the details were too precise, too personal. The revelation came during a quiet dinner, the kind where only the gentle clinking of silverware broke the comfortable silence. Emily pushed her peas around her plate, her gaze distant. "I used to write in a diary," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I called it Kitty. I wrote everything in it." Sarah's fork clattered to her plate. Tom stared at his daughter, a knot forming in his stomach. "Emily, what are you talking about?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly. Emily looked up. Her blue eyes, usually so innocent, now held an ancient, sorrowful wisdom. "Before," she corrected, "when I was Anne Frank." A stunned silence descended upon the dining room. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, displacing the familiar warmth of their home with an icy dread. Emily began to recount vivid details, not as if recalling a story, but as if reliving memories. She spoke of the claustrophobia, the constant fear of discovery, the mundane yet terrifying routine of hiding. She described the taste of stale bread, the cold Dutch winters, the sound of church bells marking the hours. She mentioned specific names: Peter, Margot, Mr. Dussel, names that meant nothing to the Hendersons, but which resonated with a chilling familiarity to anyone who knew the story of Anne Frank. She even described the small, precise act of hiding her diary, a detail that was less commonly known outside of scholarly circles. If this shocks you so far, subscribe and tell us in the comments what you think about reincarnation. The Hendersons, bewildered and frightened, initially sought psychological help for Emily. The therapists, however, were equally stumped. Emily exhibited no signs of delusion or mental illness. Her stories were consistent, detailed, and delivered with an unsettling conviction. When a local historian, Dr. Evelyn Reed, heard rumors of the case, she approached the family with a cautious curiosity. Dr. Reed was a meticulous researcher, initially skeptical, but open to the possibility of the unknown. Her first meeting with Emily was held in the Hendersons' living room, an unassuming setting for what would prove to be an extraordinary encounter. Dr. Reed, armed with a series of obscure questions and historical photographs, began her gentle interrogation. She showed Emily a faded photograph of Amsterdam from the 1940s, purposefully omitting any identifying landmarks. "Do you recognize this place, Emily?" she asked softly. Emily's small finger immediately pointed to a cluster of buildings. "That's close to where Otto had his office," she stated, referring to Anne's father. "The one with the tilting facade." Dr. Reed's eyes widened slightly. The detail about the tilting facade was a minor, almost unnoticed architectural quirk of one of the buildings near the real secret annex. Dr. Reed then produced a picture of a lesser-known artifact, a specific type of ration card used in wartime Holland. "What is this for, dear?" Emily, without hesitation, explained its purpose and the complex system of obtaining food, even describing the anxiety associated with losing one. She spoke of the kleine letters, the tiny letters in her diary, and the ink she often ran out of, details only someone intimately familiar with Anne Frank's writings would know. The psychologist, Dr. Chen, who was also present, noted Emily's consistent emotional responses, her body language, and the sheer volume of specific, historically accurate information she possessed, all without any apparent prior exposure. The climax of the investigation, the moment that truly transcended the realm of coincidence, occurred during a television interview. The documentary crew had arranged for Emily to be shown a series of historical documents and photographs, including images of the actual secret annex. Emily was calm, almost serene. She identified the annex with ease, pointing out structural details and even the specific window she often looked out of. Then, the interviewer, trying a desperate gambit, handed Emily a photograph of a page from the published diary of Anne Frank. The handwriting was clearly visible. "Can you tell me anything about this?" he asked, a hint of desperation in his voice. Emily looked at the page, a faint smile playing on her lips. "This is from Kitty," she said softly. Then she pointed to a specific sentence, one that had been slightly altered in some early English translations of the diary due to sensitivity. "This part," she said, her voice barely audible, "it's not exactly what I wrote. I was more angry about something Margot said." The interviewer, stunned, checked his notes. Emily had accurately pinpointed a nuanced difference between the original Dutch manuscript and a common English translation, a detail known only to dedicated scholars and those with access to the original source material. There was no way an 8-year-old in Chicago could have known this. The air in the room crackled with an almost tangible energy, a blend of awe and disbelief. The story of Emily Henderson, the girl who claimed to be Anne Frank, swept through the media, igniting fervent debates across the globe. Scientists grappled with the implications for neurology and memory. Theologians pondered the existence of the soul and the afterlife. Historians meticulously cross-referenced Emily's accounts, finding uncanny accuracy in her most minute details. The Henderson family, once anonymous, found themselves thrust into the international spotlight, their lives irrevocably altered. They struggled to protect Emily from the relentless scrutiny, while simultaneously seeking to understand the profound mystery that had enveloped their daughter. The case of Emily Henderson remains one of the most compelling and perplexing in the annals of reincarnation research. It challenges the very foundations of our understanding of consciousness, memory, and identity. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of existence and whether our lives are merely isolated journeys, or if they are threads in a much larger, interwoven tapestry of souls. The scientific community, though still largely skeptical of reincarnation, found it impossible to fully dismiss the sheer volume of specific, verified information Emily provided. The emotional impact on those who witnessed her accounts was profound. Many felt an undeniable connection to a past life through her words. What do you think? Could this child truly be the reincarnation of Anne Frank? Comment below and subscribe for more chilling cases.